The United States Constitution, it would protect us. It would protect us. And I was wrong. It will not protect us. It is our job to protect the United States Constitution. Can't leave the past behind. No way. Shadows dancing from the smoke. Get up, got soldier, moving forward.
Keep it like this, but I speak from the heart.
There you go.
And I let God just speak through me. I like to just try to be that conduit for the message that needs to come out. On behalf of healthcare workers, doctors, paramedics, and firefighters in the state of Oregon to stop the vaccine mandate.
We've got an update for you now on a story that we aired on Friday and found a $1,000 donation from a right-wing PAC called Free Oregon. And the founder of Free Oregon is a man named Ben Edtl. Connecting all these dots here.
Our leadership in the Republican Party, whether it be the Senate caucus, the House caucus, or wherever it might be, is afraid. They're full of fear. They're afraid of Tina Kotek. They're afraid of Rob Wagner. But I am not. I'm not afraid of them whatsoever. Thank you. Just in case you didn't know.
Most. In fact, his defund the police bills resulted, especially in Portland, which is a big part of our district, resulted in a 300% increase in murder, 200% almost year over year. The first year these bills started passing, we had an 800% increase, and 70% of the victims are black men and boys under the age of 30. Now, I didn't grow up in Lake Oswego. I grew up in Portland, in inner Southeast, in the King District in the 90s. So this is an absolute tragedy.
Shut down all of tolling. So some of the tolling projects are still maybe on the book, maybe out there, and need to be worked.
They're out there.
Let me start with Ben Edtl's January 2nd post. In just 50 or so words, he makes multiple errors or misstatements or whatever you want to call it.
Right now, that court invasion has entered into our political process. It owns our legislatures on both sides. The caucuses in the Republican and the caucuses in the Democrat Party are completely bought by Chinese money.
And welcome to the Geyer Show. Tonight, a man at the establishment in Salem is desperate to silence. From uncovering deep-seated waste at the Umpqua Transit District to leading the charge to dismantle vote by mail in Oregon. He's a fixer the bureaucrats just didn't see coming. Ben Edtl joins us live tonight to expose the truth about election integrity and the fight for Oregon. And he's going to be jumping in to the show momentarily. Let's talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the show. We've got a lot going on, and we're just waiting for Ben to jump in here. It's going to be a great show. So let's see everybody in the comments. If you don't know who Ben is, we're going to explain to you who he is here just in a little bit once he joins into the studio. We're grateful to have him. Guys, if you're joining on X, welcome. If you're joining on YouTube, welcome. If you're joining on Rumble, welcome. No, we're not live on Rumble. We're actually live on Instagram right now. Believe it or not, for the first time ever. So welcome to the Instagram chat, ladies and gentlemen. If you're joining in here, share this out. We've got some informational topics to talk about tonight. And it's going to be a good time. We've got a lot to talk about. And we're just going to get into it once Ben gets in here. So just momentarily. And while we wait, we are going to take a quick intermission. And we're going to continue. We're going to play this video one more time just because I really want you to understand who this guy is and what he's all about. So we'll just give you guys 4 more minutes. And let's see everybody in the comments. Say hello. Welcome to the show.
And I thought the United States Constitution, it would protect us. It would protect us. And I was wrong. It will not protect us. It is our job to protect the United States Constitution.
Can't leave the past behind. No way. Shadows dancing from the smoke. Get up.
Keep it like this, but I speak from the heart. There you go. And I let God just speak through me. I like to just try to be that conduit for the message that needs to come out. On behalf of healthcare workers, doctors, paramedics, and firefighters in the state of Oregon to stop the vaccine mandate.
We've got an update for you now on a story that we aired on Friday and found a $1,000 donation from a right-wing PAC called Free Oregon. And the founder of Free Oregon is a man named Ben Edtl. Connecting all these dots here.
Our leadership in the Republican Party, whether it be the Senate caucus, the House caucus, or wherever it might be, is afraid. They're full of fear. They're afraid of Tina Kotek. They're afraid of Rob Wagner. But I am not. I'm not afraid of them whatsoever. Thank you. Just in case you didn't know.
Most. In fact, his defund the police bills resulted, especially in Portland, which is a big part of our district, resulted in a 300% increase in murder, 200% almost year over year. The first year these bills started passing, we had an 800% increase, and 70% of the victims are black men and boys under the age of 30. Now, I didn't grow up in Lake Oswego. I grew up in Portland, in inner Southeast, in the King District in the 90s. Okay. So this is an absolute tragedy.
Shut down all of tolling. So some of the tolling projects are still maybe on the book, maybe out there, and need to be worked.
They're out there.
Let me start with Ben Edtl's January 2nd post. In just 50 or so words, he makes multiple errors or misstatements or whatever you want to call it.
Right now, that court invasion has entered into our political process. It owns our legislatures on both sides. The caucuses in the Republican and the caucuses in the Democrat Party are completely bought by Chinese money.
And tonight on the Geyer Show, a man establishment in Salem is desperate to silence. From uncovering deep-seated waste in the Umpqua Transit District to leading the charge to dismantle the vote by mail in Oregon. He's the fixer the bureaucrats did not see coming. Ben Edtl joins us live to expose the truth about election integrity and the fight for Oregon and the fight for free Oregon. Let's go. Welcoming to the stage, Ben. What's up, man? How are you?
Good, man. I'm sweating. I just got done walked off the basketball court a few minutes ago, tried to shower, just kept sweating, trying to get here by 7, a little late. But hey, we're good, man. I'm glad to be on. Thanks for having me on, man. How you doing?
No problem. Thanks for coming on. Hey, we're having a good time over here. We just now got started. Glad to have you on. We're going to jump right into it, Ben. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Special guest, guys. If you don't know who Ben is, we're coming to you live with a massive show. Now, you've seen the headlines. You've seen the hit pieces in the legacy media. And you've seen the state government try to circle the wagons. But we don't do narratives here. We do the ground truth. So joining me tonight is a man who isn't afraid to hold a $32,000 check if he knows the results aren't right. Now, Ben Edtl, welcome to the show. For segment 1, we're going to get into the Doge and the election stand. Ben, let's start in the Douglas County. You stepped in as CEO in the Umpqua Public Transportation District, the UPTD, when it basically was on life support. Now, my question for you is, you've described your time there as a complete kind of like a Doge operation, slashing waste and saving taxpayers nearly over $600,000, if I'm not mistaken. For the folks who only see the negative headlines, what you did was actually find when you walked into that office. And what did you actually find when you walked into that office, and why was the establishment so shocked that a CEO actually cared about the budget?
Well, the reality the reality is that we took that board, and I mean the story goes even further back. I mean, and we can talk about that if that's in the plan. But I think understanding what happened politically moving into that to that occurrence where I was coming in as CEO to this government agency. But we can go back to that. I think right now, your question is, what did I find when I went in there? I mean, what I found was an organization that was wrought with turmoil, wrought with sickness. The morale was horrific. Everyone was stabbing each other in the back, trying to climb around and do whatever they were doing. It was a total losing team. But the math was that we were facing 2 weeks to insolvency when I was made interim CEO. I started out as a contractor, emergency assessment and recommendation, because most of the board members had resigned, the chief operating officer had resigned, and then the CEO also resigned. And so it was the conditions were right for an emergency transitional leadership. And so that's where I got brought in as a contractor. So I was there probably 4 or 5 weeks before I became the interim CEO. And when I became the interim CEO, we were 2 weeks away from a payroll that the district could not fund. And the reason the district couldn't fund it is because we had 72 plus compliance violations, which I ultimately condensed to around 40 something, because some of it was not, but at the time it was 72. And many of those, probably 75 to 80% of those compliance violations were over 3 years old. So they had existed for 3 years at that agency. And when that happens, an agency, a recipient of federal funds, cannot receive the funds. It's not legal. It violates federal code to fund that agency if it has compliance violations for 3 years. So ODOT, which is the middleman on the money, was withholding those funds and refusing to write the check to those funds. So that's what I came into. It had 2 weeks, ticking clock, to get the funds, make the payroll, fix the agency.
2 weeks.
I had 2 weeks.
And is that a policy that they had, or was that written into whatever?
Well, we had an impending payroll that was 2 weeks away, with ODOT refusing to write the check for the quarterly funding.
So it was a high stakes scenario. And Michaela Hammerson was really the only one left on the board. There was another guy on the board too, but Michaela was on the board. She became the chair as everybody bounced out. But and then we had put the Roseburg Six essentially on our board to fill that board, and that's what the board decided to do, is to bring me on and turn the agency around. But what I found out was that what I knew kind of going into that 2 weeks is that ODOT hadn't followed the proper procedure for withholding funds. So they were in breach of contract between the district and ODOT. There's a contract between the district and ODOT. The district is not ODOT. It's a special district funded by ODOT. It's a transportation district. Yep, buses and all that stuff. But ODOT had breached the contract by refusing to withhold funds, essentially. And so when I became interim CEO, my first order of business was to contact the people who ran ODOT's statewide transit division and notify them that they had no power to withhold the funds, that they had breached contract, that they didn't follow the directions, and I would just sue them in court. And they knew that they did that. And so they wrote the check.
Wow. There you go.
It was that simple.
Yeah,
no one else could do
simple.
that before. I mean, because no one was competent at running an organization. I've been a CEO for a long time. So I just said, well, let me find out what they did wrong. And you did this wrong. You did this wrong. You did this wrong. I'm new in town. Hi, good to meet you. You're going to write the fucking check. And that's exactly how it worked. And then they wrote the check. And then we made the payroll. And then I started slashing.
Right.
We had an administrative team that was, 7 or 8 people. I mean, it's not a big agency. It's $8 million a year, something like that. And we had about 8 people in the administrative team. So we did a restructure first thing, and I cut that C-level team to 3 people: a CEO, a COO, and a CFO, just like you'd have in a private company. There was no need for HR. We had 50 employees. I've had businesses with 50 employees, and I did not need HR. It's too small for an HR department. It's a waste of money. So we cut that, eliminated that whole department, outsourced it. And then we started saving money on, maintenance contracts and fuel expenses, because we had inefficient routes and we had buses that were really old, that were really large, and no one was on those buses. And so we went to the smaller buses, and that saved us a lot of maintenance. And then we modified the routes, and that saved us a lot of fuel to the tune of, $25,000 a month. And so over a biennial budget, we ultimately saved the taxpayers $600,000 for every 2-year biennial budget, or $300,000 a year. But right away, I cut $50,000-$60,000 a year just in eliminating administrative positions that were totally unnecessary. And then I gave raises to the people that were necessary. So we went in and, I gave a raise to the CFO at the time, made her CFO, gave her the authority, and then gave her a raise.
And how did she do with that? How did she do with that?
She did a fairly good job with it, except for the fact that fast forward after it's all said and done, she did fine. She did fine. She was good with that. She was one of the people that did 5 people's jobs, and there was 5 people that did nobody's job. And you just cut 5 people, you give the one a raise.
And being the CEO of companies in the past, you understand that. And
I looked at it, but on day one, I went in there, got everybody together, and everyone was freaked out because you had, Senator David Brocksmith, who's the senator in District 1, which is where that district existed. He was going on the air telling people that I was a grifter and that I was totally unequipped to run a government agency. I had no experience in transportation. And he told everybody on the radio how complicated transportation was and how complex it was. Wow. And that I had no idea what I was doing as a business owner. I had no idea. And I just thought to myself, what's this jerk doing? This is so weird. Why is a senator going on the radio to tell the people of Senate District 1 that the person running one of their critical key infrastructure government agencies is a grifter? And I was like, this is like, how does an elected official get away with that? Essentially, I'm not elected official. I'm I was looking for a job. I was getting a job. And so I thought that was really an unprecedented thing. I've never seen it before in my life. But the board was strong and they made the right choice. They did it anyways. And so everyone was really freaked out. I think that was probably the point. I don't think they wanted me to fail because I may not be an elected official, but I am a public figure and I can't, I'm not protected by, some reputational laws and things like that. People can say what they want about me. I'm too public to have that be protected by that. But I think the whole point was to just create chaos and make it even harder. And the first thing that we really faced was ODOT and deep staters from ODOT that were involved in the district, and they were working with the Republicans. And I'm a Republican, which is so bizarre. This could have been a huge victory for all Republicans in the state of Oregon.
Could have been.
But it wasn't a victory that they could have claimed. And so because of that, I think that's one of the things. I just suspect. I don't know. I mean, your listeners can figure it out.
Sounds like it to me.
Yeah.
Now you had a certain fulfillment, a certain job to do as CEO of this new company that basically, and in May you did something that no one else had the guts to do. You refused to certify the board election results, and then we talked about that, or pay that $32,000 bill to the county. Now the media calls it disgruntled, but we know it's about integrity. What were the specific red flags that made it impossible for you to sign off on that election in good conscience?
Well, yeah, fast forward. I mean, look, you got the bookends of my experience at this government agency. And the first one was I was keeping it together, for one. And politically, there's things, and I'll be honest with you, politically, there's things going on, right? Like, we had every single elected official in Douglas County, Coos County, and Curry County, which is Senate District 1, Senator David Brock Smith's district. Every single one of them signed a document that urged the Douglas County Republican Central Committee to recall 6 people. This is back in 2024. To recall 6 people who were and including Todd Vaughn, because they supported Todd Vaughn's campaign for Senate District 1 in the primary against David Brock Smith. And so they all signed it. The district attorney, the sheriff, the county clerk, Dan Loomis, which we'll get to with your question. All of them did. Virgil Osborne signed it. Court Boyce signed it. All the commissioners signed it. The guy in charge of the Water Bureau signed it. I mean, it was crazy. They all signed this thing, and it said, recall these bad Republicans because they're running someone against your beloved David Brock Smith. And so to me, that was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And that's one of the reasons I got involved in Douglas County politics, and I got involved in Southern Oregon politics, because I'm from Portland. I live in the Portland metro area. And so I'm in House District 37, which is South Portland Metro. And so I'm down there fighting because I realized that this is ground zero for Republican corruption in our state. And Oregon didn't get where it is today, okay? Oregon didn't become the worst state in the United States on every front, okay? Because there's no metric that's available that says that Oregon is victorious in right now. We're dead last all across the board on everything. I mean, just it's
losing.
True. Yeah. So we didn't get this way because we have a strong Republican Party. We didn't get this way because the Democrats are so incredibly geniusly gifted that they were able to somehow, destroy the hardest efforts our best Republicans could ever make. No, we got here because we have a one-party government, a communist party government that some say they're Democrat and some say they're Republican, but they're all in the same boat. And I mean all right? So I don't care. I know these people. I know what they do. I see them. I work with them. They hate me. I don't hate them. I just want them gone. They just need to go away. We need strong people, and we don't have that. We got there because they're all in the same boat, protecting their same source of power and source of income and revenue, which is you, people. It's your money. It's your hard work. It's your tax dollars. That's where they get it from. That's how they make their money.
And us people are being complacent and not doing anything about it. Most of us.
and not complacent, afraid. I think if I don't know what your plan is, but if someday we'll get into maybe some part in this show. We'll get into what they've done to me, and I think it matters only because I want people to know that what they've done to me and the fact that I'm still going. And so
yeah, no, that's important. That's a very important piece of that.
Yeah, so yes, in May we can go back to it. We can get back to that, but in May, the bookends were David Brock Smith and the Republicans down there were saying, "Don't bring Ben in. This is bad. This is the worst thing that could ever happen. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's bad." Well, in 4 months, we had that district 100% compliant. 4 months.
120 days, ladies and gentlemen.
4 months, 100% compliant.
That's impressive.
And as we moved in from October 2024 to May 2025, the special election, every single board member that was up for re-election that had a challenger lost their race except for one. And so in other words, on election day on May 20th, 2025, somehow the people of Douglas County all voted to put the broken people back in. One of them was Natasha Atkinson, and she was on the board when I was hired. And then we just lost your screen. You good? You there? Matt? Lost your screen. You're back.
There we go.
Okay. We're back.
Go ahead,
All right,
Ben. My apologies.
No, you're fine. Technical difficulties. So Natasha Atkinson resigned in protest from the board when I was hired. She was a minority position. She's a liberal. Okay. There's nothing MAGA, conservative, or Republican about her. I know her. She was on the board when I worked there. She's a Democrat. And she actually, strangely enough, has a business that utilizes the district for her profit, which is also very corrupt.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a conflict of interest she's never actually divulged, but someone should look into that. But nonetheless, she resigns in protest, and then she wants to get the job back, so she challenges Todd Vaughn's seat. The other people running, one of them's Gina Beam, and Gina Beam has an NGO in Douglas County where she distributes taxpayer dollars to fight firefighters or something like that. It's federal and state dollars. And it's so funny because I can't remember which commission. I think it's Freeman or somebody, Boyce. I can't remember. One of those dirtbags down there that's a Douglas County commissioner. They're all dirtbags. That's why I got to vote for Steve Hamerson and Sam Frost. If you're going to be voting down there, vote for Sam Frost and Steve Hamerson. But one of these dirtbags owns a company that rents firefighting equipment. So it's crazy how Gina Beam gets the money from you, the taxpayers, and then gives it to him, the commissioner who has a business who rents firefighting heavy equipment and for the wildlands. And I've been down to his we've spied on his yard with his equipment. It's all rusted bullshit. It's not fighting any fires. It's just a scam. And so Gina Beam is running. She also got $1.2 million in the last 90 days in taxpayer funds to her NGO, by the way. I think that's an interesting thing. But you can look that up too, Gina Beam. And then another one is this dude that's pretty quiet. I don't know who he is. I don't know. He's just a nice guy. He's a quiet guy. He just sits there. And then one of them is the brother of the chief lobbyist for the Oregon Transit Association.
Wow.
So those are the people that the Douglas County voters said, yeah, we don't want the MAGA people. We want the dirtbags to come in, and the woman who quit in protest while they fixed the district. Now she wants her job back. I don't think that happened. But here's the crazy part. The crazy part is that Todd Vaughn won his race on May 20th, 2025 on election night by 95 votes. 95 votes, he wins. And then Dan Loomis does something totally unprecedented. Dan Loomis, there's someone at my door. Sorry, it's distracting. I can see right through my glass doors. But then Dan Loomis goes on an 8-day reporting blackout. Dan Loomis is the county clerk in Douglas County. He goes on an 8-day reporting blackout after Election Day. And then on the eighth day that happens, and we all saw this coming, Todd Vaughn loses his race. after Election Day. But here's what I saw. When we looked at the data that was provided to the district on the race, we got what was called an abstract of votes. And an abstract of votes is a precinct by precinct top line number for how many votes they counted in each precinct for each person. And I looked at this and I went, okay, yeah, fine, but it doesn't tell me anything. But what I did know is that 48%, almost half of the total returns in that election, came in after Election Day. And to me, I found that to be a huge problem in a 78% registered Republican district.
Yeah, it's a big district.
Okay, Republicans vote on Election Day. We don't vote after Election Day. We don't vote early. We don't do that historically and typically. And so I thought that was really odd. And, I know that Todd Vaughn won his race because I think Todd Vaughn won his Senate primary race in 2024. We had fewer returns in that Senate race where David Brock Smith sued me to cease and desist because he claimed that I was lying about him. And I told David Brock Smith to fuck right off. In fact, I got served with papers. I got served with papers in 2024. And then 3 minutes after I signed the green card by the USPS, receiving those papers back in 2024, I got a message from the Capitol Chronicle, which is a left-wing rag that covers the legislation in Salem. And they said, oh, you're getting, you just got a really mean letter served to you. Give me a statement by 5 p.m. And I said, I'll give you a statement right now. He can go fuck himself. And then she responded back, well, can I have a statement I can print? I'm like, you can print that. That's all I had to say to him.
Media.
So we had a big, you can print it and you can put stars, asterisks, or whatever you want to do, but you can print that. And what we had was the most watched Republican primary in the entire 2024 election.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we had fewer people vote in that race than Virgil Osborne, who was running for state rep in half that district. Half a Senate district is a state rep, is a House district. Virgil had more votes and he didn't have a challenger. He had more votes without a challenger. So you're telling me, I was like, how many votes did they throw away? It's insane.
That's insane. And what's the percentage there of Republicans in that county or in that district?
78%.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's Roseburg. It's Douglas County. But here's what happened. I told the district, I said, now back to May 28th, 2025. I said, you're telling me that half the ballots came in after Election Day? Bullshit, Dan Loomis. And I wrote this letter, and it's on my website. You can see the letter I wrote to him as the CEO of the district. I said, you need to show me, before I certify this election, something that anything that can prove that this was legit. How about sending me adjudicated ballots? How about weblogs? I want to know about the ballots that were counted after Election Day. Show us some of this stuff. And you know what? I'll certify the election if I feel like I can't find anything that shows that this was not legit. Because half the ballots coming in after Election Day to me isn't legit. And so the county said, no, we're not going to give you anything. We don't have to. And so I said, cool, then this is not a certifiable election and I'm not going to certify it. And that's what happened. And that's where it all started out. And that made me the very first government official in the state of Oregon's history to refuse to certify an election.
The very first.
The very first.
Where's that letter that you wrote to him on your website?
Go to news.
Go to news. Okay.
Yep. Top right there, right side navigation on news.
Okay.
Now scroll down. You're there. So keep going. Right. It could be. It's in one of those.
Coordinated. Ben Edtl announces resignation. No.
Keep going. One more. Right there. Right there.
Right here.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Government official, Oregon history, refused certification. And it's going to be linked in there somewhere.
Right here?
Yeah.
Let's see.
The letter, I sent letter to the clerk Loomis. That letter's right there, and that link, if you click that, it'll bring it up. And then the Secretary of State opened up an investigation on me.
Mm-hmm.
Not the ballots, not the counting of the ballots, but the SOS opened up an investigation on me because I broke the law, because the law is that every CEO of any government agency that holds an election has to certify the election. That's ORS. And I violated ORS. And so they opened up an investigation that's still open. They still have it open on me.
So that kind of leads into this question coming from one of my viewers here is, has there been an audit recently on the Douglas County voter registry?
No.
But yet they still choose to open an investigation on you.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're not allowed to audit the registry. I mean, we can buy the voter rolls, right? So we can look at the voter rolls, and they need to be audited. Actually, I think I take that back. What is it? The VATs or something like that. Those are available federally, but they don't really tell you the truth. And so the data that the state has is still being withheld. That's why the Trump administration is suing the state of Oregon for its deeper dive voter rolls, because they don't give us everything. They don't give us the whole thing. And Donald Trump wants the whole thing, which he deserves. So, but no, there's not been a real, true, actual audit anywhere in Oregon on the voter rolls.
That's wild.
We can audit what they give us, okay, and there's still errors. We're still messed up. But this is what led to Vaughn v. Loomis. See? Because after the second go, we got together with Todd and you know, what are you going to do, Todd? What are we going to do here? You know, like here we go, round 2, where they take an election from you, man.
Right.
And Todd had a lot to think about because, you know, Todd's a logger. He's one of the smartest guys I know, and he's a logger, but he's worked his whole life, and he owns this beautiful plot of land in Tiller, you know, about 45 minutes from Roseburg, and it's beautiful country. It's right on the Rogue River. He has a land right on the Rogue River. It's beautiful.
That's God's country out there, man. Great fishing, everything.
It's beautiful. I've been there. It's amazing. It's incredible. And but when you sue for elections in Oregon and you lose, the state, the county, whatever district you're suing can charge your legal fees, and they can go after you for their legal fees.
And they'll take your land.
And they can take his land because the legal fees for a suit like this are enormous, especially when you're paying the county's legal fees in this case. So this is what Douglas County did, what Dan Loomis did, is he got John DeLorenzo from Portland, who charges $1,500 an hour, who's a brilliant attorney. He truly is. But it's the most expensive attorney that they could get. And right now, I can't tell you how much this is costing the taxpayers out of Douglas County. And I'm pretty certain that because of that investigation with Tobias Reed onto me, the Secretary of State, Tobias Reed, I would not be shocked if the state is going to help them pay for that defense. Because if this thing opens up, what we already know it's opening up, this is going to be devastating to the entire vote by mail system in the state of Oregon. Because other than Dan Loomis followed the procedure to the T. You know, our legislation is developed and designed so that you can hide behind this election system, and it's terrible. It's terrible. It needs to be opened up, and we opened it up. We had 8 attempts by John DeLorenzo since May, June. I think it was June when we first filed. But when we filed, nothing really happened. And then Jonkus got involved. My friend Stephen Jonkus, he got involved and stepped in to help Todd. And we filed a second amended petition where we laid out the cabal of Douglas County, where we actually brought to that lawsuit the documents, like the one that I told you about, where every single elected official signed this to remove Todd Vaughn as a delegate to the ORP. He was an elected delegate at Douglas County. Michaela Hammerson was vice chair. They removed her. They removed a few others that helped his campaign. And we said, this is a cabal of criminal cabal that runs not only Douglas County, Senate District 1, and they are fixing the elections, and they're taking taxpayer dollars, and they're using their power essentially to illegally punch down on citizens. And this is a criminal cabal. And within 48 hours of the filing of that second amended petition, Every single judge in Douglas County recused themselves from Von v. Loomis. They all recused. And that hasn't happened in over a decade.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So every judge in the county said, nope, we have a conflict of interest. Recused. And that gave us Judge Galley, who's the only judge in Oregon, I believe, that cannot be bought. And he's out of Josephine County.
I was going to ask, where's he out of?
Yep, Josephine County. And Galley, we've defeated, and this isn't Galley, this is just him following the law. He just can't be bought. And so it isn't like he's, working for us in particular. He's just working for the law. He's working for the Constitution. And we've defeated 8 attempts to dismiss this case from John De Lorenzo. And
Nice.
And now we're going to trial. And we've already found enough in this case, proof, and we've stated it in court, so it's public record. We found 2 major glaring things that would have changed the outcome of that race and would have kept Todd Vaughn as the member of the board at Umpqua Public Transit. And none of this would be happening right now. But we already caught him doing it.
Wow.
Caught. And now we're going to trial, but they're refusing to give us, I think the last time I knew, I don't know anything else anymore. There was a point where I knew things. Now I don't because I'm not asking to know. But they have refused to provide 16 of the 19 requests for production, including the videos of the tabulator rooms. They said they lost them.
Wow, that's discovery. They're refusing to give you the discovery, correct?
Yeah, the judge threatened to hold them in contempt if they didn't get their shit together.
As he should, Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And I think John De Lorenzo's a good guy. I don't think he's a bad guy, honest to God. I used to talk smack about him because I was like, I can't believe this guy. Let's go, right? War's war, battle's battle. I'm going up against this guy. Let's go. But he deposed me for 8 hours, and within 30 minutes, I went, God dang it, I actually like this guy. Shit, I was like, God damn it. So I was like, I enjoyed hanging with him for 8 hours, even though he was trying to bust my balls the whole time. I still liked him.
Yeah, you sat in those depositions 8 hours, man. That's grueling.
Well, they grill you about everything. They grilled me. I got deposed. They grilled me about everything. My wife, my kids, my family, my businesses, everything that we do, our finances, everything about me got grilled. And I had to give them stuff. Why
are they trying to attack you so badly?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's because, like I said, I fight for one thing and one thing only, and that's Oregonians. That's it. Period. End of story. I am not afraid to attack people of my own party, especially when they're more powerful than me. Usually I don't attack people that are not as powerful as me. I just don't think that's right. But I definitely go after bigger dogs, but when they deserve it only. Okay. So when they deserve it, someone has to hold them accountable. And I'm the only one that no matter what they do to me, I'm going to hold them accountable. And that's it.
Right.
And
mainstream
right now,
media is not doing it. Their own party's not even doing it.
I am the party.
You are the
I'm
party.
a Republican. I'm an elected PCP. I'm a Republican, true and true. I don't have. I just think that our party needs to have strength, and that's why Oregon is where it is, because we have our leadership holds their boot on the neck of the people, of the actual Republicans that pay the taxes and that are supposed to be represented by this establishment, and they're not. We're not represented at all. They say we're represented. Ed Deal and these guys, and they'll go give a great floor speech. I mean, Juncker, he'll go give a great floor speech. And Juncker will vote really well too, which is good. Bless him for that. But he's too afraid to actually fight. He knows that these people are bad, but he's too afraid to go stand up and fight. But he's only one guy, and they have power over him. And so we need more people like Trump that are just going to refuse to back down, refuse to say, okay, fine, I give in because you're humiliating me and because you're trying to hurt me financially and you're lawfaring me to death and accusing me of crimes, which is what the RLS report did 90 days after I left UPTD.
What they accuse you of?
They accused me of all kinds of stuff. They accused me of
RLS report.
Taxpayer dollars. And I'm not Trump. I'm not a billionaire. I don't have Stormy Daniels spanking me with a magazine that I'm on the cover of, although, wouldn't that be interesting? But they don't have that kind of stuff on me. But they do have they can say a lot of things about the district, but it's all lies, and so all they're doing is lying. They just lie. They said I used money. This was a lie, but I used money of the taxpayer dollars for my own personal use, and that never happened. It was never true, and it's easily provable that that didn't happen. They misapplied a lot of different federal regulations and state laws to some of the decisions that we made that were untrue. And the biggest thing that was, I think, really the biggest thing that RLS that really just stood out to me, it was really weird. And maybe it's my ego, I don't know. But it said that it was against federal law to hire me as the CEO because I didn't have any experience. It said in there, and it said it verbatim, and you can go to my same spot on my website and you can read it yourself. The whole RLS report's there. I'm not afraid of it. It said that I owned my only management experience was that I managed a coffee shop. And that's really the thing that really stood out to me in this report because I've never managed a coffee shop in my whole life. I never once. And in 2020, I was a multi-unit cafe operator. I owned 3 coffee shops, specialty coffee shops in Portland, and I had a 4,800 square foot coffee roastery. And we were manufacturing and distributing in multiple states, Oregon, Washington, and Nevada. And we had international supply chains, and we were serving big customers like the Portland Art Museum. That was one of our accounts. So very legit business. And I employed 3 coffee shop managers. But I had never actually been employed as a coffee shop manager before.
Right.
So I thought that was really weird. And if they'll lie about that, and they know because they have my they have my resume, they have all this stuff on public record because I submitted it to the district, and my resume goes back 25 years of owning, operating, and being an executive of either a CEO or a CMO of an organization. And
and they say you don't have the experience.
Yeah, and I had companies that were my own that had just as many employees as UPTD.
Yeah,
it wasn't even unfamiliar to me to be managing a business organization of that size, which is small.
Right.
So,
and you know how to put people in that are experienced as well. I mean, that's kind of what you did with your business, and that's what you did. That's what President Trump does or did as well. Is having the experience to know who to put into play, and that's what. I mean, you're not going to put your own brother in who owns a business to go help with wildfires.
One of the guys I brought in, his name's George Carrillo, and he's a Democrat. And they said that the only experience he had was he ran a PAC. But that's laughably untrue as well, because George Carrillo was the director of construction for the Oregon Health Authority. He had a $600 million budget that he managed, and he was the director of construction at ODOT before his last
that's a pretty big gig.
Director of construction at ODOT. And this is easily provable. Like, we have the state records. He has pay stubs. Like, this is the stupidest thing. And if they'll lie about that, the whole thing is just, it needs to be thrown out. They lied about all of it. And so now we're in a legal situation where I'm suing because the UPTD breached my contract. They stopped making payments to me December 1st. I was deposed in Von B. Loomis December 2nd. And then we saw that RLS report on December 2nd, I was shown it first thing in the morning by the Willamette Week when they reached out to me and asked for a comment by 5 p.m. that Wednesday, which was a couple days from then, on this scathing RLS report. And I was like, what is that? I've never seen that before. And then Natasha Atkinson's attorney and Dan Loomis's attorney, John De Lorenzo, were in the room deposing me when they brought that up. And Natasha Atkinson was interviewed by RLS, which is the third-party company that does the auditing for ODOT. She was interviewed all the way back into September. So she knew about this report going back to September when her position is being challenged by Todd Vaughn, and it's going to trial. And they've shown this to the media, and it's a disparaging document on me, which violates my Fifth Amendment rights. It's untrue. I have a right as a government official, an employee of the district, to respond and have a hearing about any documentation released to the public that affects my reputation. They robbed me of that. It's due process. I have a liberty claim on top of a breach of contract claim. And because they did it to hurt me, and because they did it in retaliation, because I refused to certify the election, I'm a federally protected whistleblower. And they did this. It's criminal. It's criminal. And one of the things that shocked me, just shocked me, completely shocked me, bro, okay, was we found out there's this guy named Ocean, and he's a journalist. And he dove into this. No one would look at it. Well, every week writes this terrible story on me.
We love Ocean over here.
And then Ocean's like, hey, I want to know about this. I'm an independent reporter. He reaches out to me, calls me Mr. Edtl. And I'm like, well, that's really nice. Mr. Edtl. Like, I'm kind of
I'm over here like, what up, Ben?
You call me Mr. Edtl. I'll take whatever. I usually get called way worse things. But I just thought it endeared me to him. I was like, well, that's very, very nice.
Ocean's a good guy. Yep.
Yeah, and then he tracked me down at an event. He said, I want to know about this. I want to look into this. And I said, well, look into it. And he goes, no, I don't want you to tell me things. I actually want to look into it myself. And I just want you to know I'm looking into it, but I'm looking into it from a very neutral perspective. I was like, please do. Go look at it. But this is what totally shocks me. He reports his story a few weeks ago, and he finds out that there's a Portland politician who's looking for this report. But he also finds out, because he's trying to figure out who that is. They wouldn't tell him who it was, but he saw an email from the legislative liaison to ODOT saying, we got a Portland politician who's looking for this, and we also have Ed Deal looking for this. And this is the craziest thing about it. So he finds the public records. He receives the public records from ODOT that shows that Ed Deal requested this RLS report on October 1st. So remember, this was shown to the media by December 2nd, because that's
the timeline.
It reached out to me with it. December 3rd, it was actually sent to the board.
Wow.
Ed Deal knew about this report October 1st.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to figure out why Ed Deal was involved, other than the fact that this is a caucus play, and they asked him to go make this public records request so they could insulate other people. But I'm like, stupid, Ed, because now you just put your dick into a fight you don't want it in, because I'm running around with coppers. like I'm going to sue you, Ed Deal, because I'm going to find out why you did this. Because if he was involved, which it apparently shows that he was involved with the production and or distribution of this document that was a falsified government document designed to hurt me in retaliation as a federally protected whistleblower, that's a crime. He could do up to 10 years in prison.
Yep, you can. You cannot go after federally protected whistleblowers.
From your position under color of law, because you're an elected official. That's fucking stupid. You don't want to do that.
And Ed Deal, ladies and gentlemen, because I got viewers outside of Oregon here sometimes. Ed Deal is running for governor. He's a representative, and he's running for governor. So, put that into perspective here. Why is a representative who's running for governor looking into a transportation district and trying to figure something out there where you're sitting here cleaning that transportation district up? And when Ocean reported that, they talked about the 47 findings. You got them down to 8. Correct?
We got it down to 8, and then we got it down to 2. And the 2 findings we couldn't remove because the findings were regular reporting, and that's it. But we left
flags.
audit.
They were red flags.
What's that?
They were just like red flags, weren't they? Just not even.
No, they were just that we had to maintain reporting. So the only finding is that we have to report again every quarter to RLS and ODOT. Fine, those are great, but those aren't issues. Those aren't compliance violations. They're findings. Yeah. They're compliance findings. The findings that were in RLS were created after we had left audit. The agency was officially out of audit for the first time in years. Yeah. In years. And then they did a review. It's not even an audit. It was a backward-looking review. And that review was designed to disparage me, to disparage the Roseburg Six on that board, including Michaela Hammerson, including Todd Vaughn, and cause damage. It was meant to cause damage. it was also designed to change the narrative of the great that we did there. And so I just can't think of it, but other than, in 2020, when they were telling us that this is the new normal, and they were saying all this weird shit that we'd never heard before in our lives. The government saying like, stay calm, lock down, be alone, call your neighbors, call the police if your neighbors are having people for Thanksgiving. All this fucking shit that happened in 2020. Remember all this? And then they were like, the other thing that happened, it dawned on me, and you played that video, that video of mine, and there's this video where I look really young, and I'm like talking into the and there's all these like comments and stuff. I had a video that went viral, and I had like 200 followers on Instagram, and this video goes viral, has like 50,000 views, and now 50,000 view video, I'm like, oh, that was okay. But it's
Isn't it funny how it works out like that?
Yeah, I'm like, it's okay.
Right.
But back then it was insane. I was like, this is crazy. But I had like 10 to 15,000 people call me a racist homophobe. And I was like, this guy. So weird. What is going on? But anyway, what they did back in 2020 is that they posted this on Wikipedia. They would say, this many people diagnosed with COVID. This many people died this week, today. It was like the Vietnam War, like everyone died today. And so they would put this out there and then be like, now we're going to go into lockdown again, heavy lockdown. Right now we're in kind of lockdown. We're going to go heavy lockdown, just 2 more weeks, flatten the curve. And we would do this. And I would look at the data that they were reporting on Wikipedia. And every time we went into lockdown, COVID cases quadrupled and death doubled. And I'm like, I did this video. I was like, go figure. They're telling you to lock down because it's safe. But every time we're locked down, COVID cases quadruple and deaths double. I'm just trying to figure out if they're doing it again and again. They did it like 7 times in that 2-year period where they would lock you down, lock you down, lock you down. Maybe it's like, I can't remember how many times, a lot of times, but they would lock you down. Every time they locked us down, the death toll would rise. And I'm like, if they know this by the second lockdown, without any doubt, that when they go into a lockdown, they're going to quadruple cases and double the deaths. And they're doing it on purpose. And there's no way that somebody from the state of Oregon or the CDC would somehow look at this data and go, well, locking people down is killing more people. We're going to stop. So I brought that to people. It went crazy. It was the craziest thing. And I was also talking about the nutty stuff in Portland. But I got to tell you.
So you brought up something that's common sense.
It was right there in front of our faces.
And you're a racist for it.
October 16th to October 21st, we were under lockdown. Cases quadrupled, deaths doubled. Boom, boom. But one of the things that it clicked with me in 2020, and I've always been a patriotic guy, I did, and I always thought I knew politics. I watched the news. I read the news. I knew what was going on in the world, so I thought. I didn't know. I had no clue. I was clueless. I didn't know shit about shit. I just knew what somebody else wanted me to know. That's it.
Right.
And that's it. But what clicked with me was that we can't trust what they say. We just can't trust anything they say. But we can trust what they do. And we can see what they do, and we can see the outcome, and we can trust that outcome was intentional. Anytime there's a group of people that control the bubble, the thing that creates the fake world that we all live in, that we perceive as being, it's safe, it's good, the government loves me. Yes, strawberry flavored nicotine is bad for kids. Right? And so,
Mango.
I'm just like, mine's actually grape. But it's like this bubble that we live in. People stop at red lights and go at green lights. All this stuff, that's all fake. That's all that's all safety and all these things that we think we have. It's all fake. It's all part of the bubble.
Seems manufactured to me.
It's manufactured. It's the lanes in the street are, they're nice. I'm not saying dump the lanes. Okay. I'm not going off the deep end here. I'm just saying that we've created an experience. Our government creates an experience, and they know what they're doing. These are not stupid people. The Republicans that I'm fighting are 1,000 times smarter than they like you to believe. 1,000 times smarter. When they say things like, well, the Democrats tricked us with the tampons in the kids' bathrooms because it wasn't written like that. And then afterwards, after we voted for it 3 times through the whole process, then they changed it. That's not true. These people are not dumb. They're not. Well, some of them actually are really stupid. But
They knew what was in the writing.
Yeah, it was there. The people that I'm fighting, sometimes in politics, you don't even know who you're up against. Like David Brock Smith, am I up against him? I doubt it. I doubt it because he's not very smart. You go talk to him, he's dumb as a box of rocks. But he is very good at following directions. So somebody is handling David Brock Smith. And I personally believe he's a Chinese asset. I just believe it. It's my belief.
CCP.
I believe he's a Chinese asset. And that's not because I imagine it and I'm a very creative guy. It's because I have receipts. I have the receipts on where his money comes from. I have the receipts on everything about David Brock Smith. And I even have receipts I'm not even supposed to have about David Brock Smith. But I believe he's an Intel community asset or a CCP asset, however you want to look at it. He's dumb as shit. Go have a conversation with him. He really truly is a low IQ guy. He's fat and slobby and sloppy and drunk, and he's very incapable of things.
We know that about him. He's a drunk. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm a drunk too. I'm sober, but I'm a drunk too. So I'm not bagging him for being a drunk. But he's, when I was in my cups, I'm a different guy, and so these are people who are not capable of getting where they're going and where they are, and they got help, and somebody's helping them. And that's really who we're up against. We're up against some pretty powerful forces, and they know better. They know how to take people out. What they did to me is I couldn't see it coming.
And the rest of the country doesn't believe that it's here in Oregon. It's everywhere, and it's everywhere.
It's what Trump's fighting against. He's fighting against
a cabal.
Basically a cabal, an intel community, a global community, Chinese influence, South American influence, South American cartel influence. The West Coast is very much controlled by, I believe, the CCP and the cartels.
Do you think Maxine Dexter is a CCP asset, possibly?
I think at this point every Democrat is. What
Fair
really
enough.
bothers me is the Republicans that are too.
Yes,
The
very much so.
Democrats
Me
that
too.
Yeah, I'm fine. Give them to the firing squad at some point.
We get it. We get it. They're
Yeah,
Democrats.
we know what Democrats are. They know what they are. They say what they are. They're not even afraid of it. But there's something worse. It's so much more worse. It's so much more of a gut punch when it's the Republicans who are actually the CCP agents or assets, and they're the ones who are punching down and playing party to the Democrats in Salem. They all these bills, even House Bill 2002, the one that was transing minors with taxpayer money without parental consent, that was bipartisan. All these bills are bipartisan. I mean, Ed Deal voted for the fucking paddle tax. He voted for the paddle tax, and now he's walking around being like, "I'm no tax deal."
Yeah, bullshit.
You're Motax deal. Motax.
Yeah, Motax. Ed Motax.
But these people are
Hashtag Ed
so
Motax.
full of
Get that
shit.
out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, they're really bad. And
He's
and
the
they
reason
got-
why that we have that tax on those freaking floats.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be for the people. Are you kidding me?
David Brock Smith was the sponsor of the 10-cent bag tax bill for the grocery bags.
Really? I did not know that. That's good.
Yeah, that's David
Dang.
Brock Smith in a 78% Republican district in Southern Oregon taxing paper bags.
And guess who else wants to tax your ass completely? Tina Kotek.
Tina Kotek.
Falls right in line, man. And that's who we're up against, allegedly.
Allegedly. But we're not. The truth is we're not up against Tina Kotek. The truth is that we, the people, we are actually up against the leadership of our own party. Only very few of us are aware of that.
Yeah.
That's the thing that has to change. Once we move them aside, we can take actions like Trump has taken to completely destroy the Democrat machine. Republicans don't fight Democrats. They don't do anything. They don't use their power to attack Democrats, to attack the Democrat power. I want you to look at it. Remember, don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do.
Yeah.
I've got 30 plus years of evidence that very few Republican caucuses have stood up and fought Democrats. We've had some in 10, 12 years ago. We had some, maybe 15 years ago. We had a strong Republican Party that attacked Democrats. And you know what? We held the legislature.
Yep.
And now, ever since that's occurred, we've lost. We've lost every time. Even Tim Knopp. Think about this. Tim Knopp was the House Minority Leader during the walkout, who walked out against House Bill 2002.
Right.
Or no, sorry, Senate Leader. He was not House. He was Senate. My bad.
I was trying to figure out how I know that name.
Yes, Tim Knopp. He was Senate Minority Leader in 2022 when they walked out against House Bill 2002. 10 senators walked out. This was after, I think it was actually 2023. It was after the Democrats passed a bill, the only kind of its whole country, that if anybody has 10 or more inexcused absences from House or Senate, from the legislature, then they can't hold their office in the next term.
How many times has Ed Deal missed out on his absences?
It doesn't matter because it's the Senate president who determines if you've been excused or not from your absence. So if the Republicans walk out for more than 10 days, they're all sacrificing their ability to run for re-election. You got to understand, this just happened. This just happened, where 2024 and 2026 is when all those senators are no longer able to hold their seats who walked out under Tim Knopp's leadership, because they walked out and Tim Knopp and David Brock Smith came back in. They made a quorum. They had the budget passed. They got House Bill 2002 passed, right? And all 10 of those senators, Dennis Linthicum and Daniel Bonham, and some of the only 10 senators we had a great Senate. We had a great, strong Senate minority that stood up. They wouldn't play games. And they all lost their ability to run for re-election, except for David Brock Smith. Tim Knopp even lost his. But Tim Knopp recently was appointed to be the head of the Tina Kotek's new government agency, the czar of prosperity, or whatever you want to call it. But that was his payoff. So now Tim Knopp gets $250,000 a year. And if he makes it there 3 years, he'll have $250,000 a year for life in PERS. That was his payoff. I call him Trader
insane.
Tim.
Trader Tim, that's a story in itself.
He's a total dirtbag little weasel trader. I know him personally. He's a little shit. He's a little dirtbag shit. And his little son, Reagan Knopp, he's been paid so much money because Tim Knopp takes money from the taxpayers as a legislature, and he would give it. You would get, like, if you voted with the Democrats, they give you like $2 million. So here's your $2 million bone for your district, and that $2 million can go to anywhere you want it to go. And so what do? Well, they give it to his son's NGO. So that's how they make money.
What was that nonprofit?
I can't remember the name. Go look it up. It's Reagan's nonprofit. It's also the Oregon Right to Life. They're very deep into the Oregon Right to Life. So there's which is unfortunate because normally that would be a great organization, but again, it's all controlled by.
His last name is the same last name as his father?
Knopp. Yep.
This little guy. Reagan Knopp, 56. He's trying to run for governor in 56. Okay, Reagan Knopp, NGO. And all of these NGOs, not all of them, but I would say most of these NGOs here in Oregon are frauds.
Yeah, they're all frauds. That's the whole thing. It's just an NGO economy. It's a fraudulent economy. They're stealing from the working class and giving it to themselves.
Okay, so he runs a Substack publication called Crosstabs where he shares insights on Oregon politics. And then he also has a candidate tracker initiative. In 2016, he created a candidate tracker to monitor political announcements, which has since been involved in a resource for others interested in political landscape. He has served as chief of staff as a significant presence on platforms like LinkedIn, Blue Sky, where he engages political community. Okay, so he's just another political guy, like a social media.
He has like 12 followers on X. He's got that's a bunch of nonsense. He doesn't have shit.
Right. Well, and so who appointed his father? Was it Kotek?
Yeah, Kotek.
Jesus.
No, that just happened like a month ago. It's Tina Kotek,
Wow.
man. So that's his payoff.
That's where your tax dollars are going, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and David Brocksmith has an NGO called the Southern Oregon Children's Foundation, and where he's the CEO, and his guy Tim Tuttle, the billionaire from San Francisco, who's been a registered Democrat for 12 years, who owns a hedge fund that services the CCP, literally, it's money. He's the guy. Thomas Tuttle is David Brocksmith's largest donor. He's donated more money to DBS from 2014 to 2024, at least. That's the last data I have. I know he's given even more after 2024, but he gave even more money as an individual to David Brocksmith than the entire corporate lobby combined, cumulative.
Wow.
It's not Head Start. It's the Southern Oregon Children's Foundation.
Okay. Southern Oregon's Children's Foundation. Okay.
Yeah,
This was the Southern.
He probably doesn't even have a website, but there's 990s available that you can get, which is like basically the W-2 for like an NGO. You can get their 990s.
Yeah.
And you can see where they spend money. David Brocksmith gets a salary, but Thomas Tuttle is it's the Bidens and the Clintons, exactly.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, Thomas Tuttle is the director of scholarships for the Southern Oregon Children's Foundation, whatever that is. But they've taken taxpayer dollars too. So he gets money right from the taxpayer and just simply has the state of Oregon write checks essentially to himself to cover his salary. These guys
fraudulent.
So they don't fight the Democrats. If you watch them, they don't do anything that actually fights the Democrats. Unfortunately, I hate to break the news, and people get pissed at me, and I don't care. Truth is truth. You guys got to just suck it up and understand what the truth is, because your own eyes don't lie. There's no real fighting the Democrats from the Republicans. The ORP doesn't do anything to hold any Republican official accountable who does not fight the Democrats, because they don't. They bitch and moan and complain, but they do nothing, and they've accomplished nothing with their power. Zero. The Democrats have gained more and more power and more of your money, and there's been nothing at all to stand in their way. Nothing. Go prove me wrong. Go tell me where the Republicans have gotten any victories whatsoever. There's none. And any victory that they do claim, which they do claim some victories, those victories mean nothing. They're meaningless victories. They're victories, and I don't consider any of them a victory. Well, we got this really bad bill, less bad. That's not a victory. Making the Democrat communist bill a little bit better, or not so Democrat and communist as they wanted it to be, is not a victory. That's you being sold out.
So what do we got to do? What do they got to do for a victory?
Taxpayers, that's you being sold out. That's what that is. That's not a victory. That's you getting sold out with Vaseline.
For their own power benefit.
The whole thing.
Right. Ice Cube said it best.
He didn't.
And the problem is it's benefiting their power book and their pocketbook, man, and we're suffering as taxpayers. So how do we claim a victory? How do you claim a victory as a Republican towards the Democrats? Like, what's our first victory? Is it restoring the vote?
It was UPTD.
Yeah.
It was our first victory. We took a government agency that was controlled by
$600,000.
We saved the district. And meanwhile, these dickheads had their Doge podcast where they didn't Doge a goddamn thing. And I was Doging it right under their noses. And they couldn't live with that. They couldn't have that happen. And that's the thing. And so, but that would have been a huge victory. That is a huge victory for all Republicans, especially MAGA Republicans in Oregon, because we just showed how corrupt the ODOT was, and then how corrupt the Republicans are, and then how easy it was. Because I'll tell you right now, in my career, I've had a lot harder jobs. That was one of the easiest jobs I've ever had, yet I was unfit for it somehow. It was the easiest thing I've ever done. It was so clear, so easy. It happened very fast. It was a quick turnaround. And it was crazy. The next big victory is, yes, we need to secure our elections. And every single Republican that's elected in the state of Oregon has refused to support IP37, which puts them on the wrong side of history, and it puts them essentially against Donald Trump's executive orders and the SAVE Act. And
so What do they? What would put them on the right side of history by supporting IP37?
They need to get behind securing our elections.
Yep.
It's the number one issue, and it's the most important issue to our national security. Our elections are rigged.
You've got documented evidence of it, don't you?
We have documented evidence in Von v.
Yep.
Loomis. We have documented evidence in our voter rolls. We have documented evidence in the fact that, I was involved in a lawsuit, Thielman v. Fagan. I was second listed plaintiff in Thielman v. Fagan, where we sued every single county in the state of Oregon, all 36, for their voter rolls, and we got them, and we found that Multnomah County in the last 6 years had only removed 4 people from their voter rolls. In 6 years, 4 people.
Wow.
More people die by lunch every day in Multnomah County. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Washington County, they deleted like 8. Clackamas deleted 12. But it was like that all the way across the state. And if that's it, if we're only deleting 4 people in Multnomah County in 6 years, our elections are rigged.
That's the writings in the book right there.
I don't know what else you need to know other than the fact that I can go on. We have a legislative system that's designed for stealing elections. Our system floods the state with ballots that are that are returned all the time, hundreds of thousands. We in Thielman v. Fagan, we also brought up the fact that the SEIU, the largest government agency union, every single midterm and general election does ballot collection drives at all universities in Oregon where there's dorms to collect the second ballot that's sent to the student because they get one at the dorm and they get one back at home.
Wow.
And they collect hundreds of thousands of ballots. The SEIU.
Fraud.
What do they do with those ballots? How does a union get 100,000 ballots?
Man, they stand outside in Salem, outside on the lawn in Salem.
They do.
Right in front of your face.
It's crazy.
They do all of this, and they politically attack you.
Yeah.
So they try and silence the one who brings up their bullshit, and they try and take down the one that tries to bring up their bullshit right in front for the public to see.
The same thing they did to Trump. I just think about what they put him through. I mean, when we announced that Scott Presser was coming to Oregon, and this was a couple weeks after we had been approved for circulating IP37, because they couldn't not approve us. We were really worried that they were going to not approve us. I was like, they can't not approve us. Like, that would be just showing all their cards. So they approved us. And then 2 weeks after that, the Department of Revenue took every penny out of our family bank accounts without warning, without letters, without due process, without shit. And when we called the next day, we called the DOR. We said, what the fuck's going on? Nobody at the DOR could give us a straight answer because they didn't know. And then we called back that afternoon. Then the next day, they still couldn't figure it out. So they were transferring us from different departments. We couldn't figure it out. Day 3, we're still trying to figure it out. They took all our money. What the fuck? And we're trying to figure it out. And then we get letters in our online statements that say that our 2020 return was rejected. This was in 2025.
Huh.
And so we're like, this is like absolutely insane. And we're like, how did this get rejected? How do we not know? How do you take all of our money? They added tons and tons of fees. It was all fees. We overpaid in 2020. They owed us $15,000 from 2020.
Wow.
And my CPA, who's like 70 years old, who's been doing this for a long, long time, probably longer than I've been alive, said he's never seen that before in his entire career. He contacted the DOR, couldn't get any answers. It still never made sense. He recommended getting a lawyer and suing him. My lawyers that I work with, they were like, this is obviously retaliation. There's no way. This is totally like not normal. And I tried to find lawyers we didn't have any money. They took all of our money. And I tried to get lawyers, and I would love a lawyer if one's listening that could help us with this, because the lawyers don't want these cases because they don't want to take the punishment either. They know that the state controls the bubble, and they don't want to get yanked outside the bubble and beaten to a pulp like they're trying to do to me. Wow. But I'm still here. We recovered. They didn't take our business. We have our businesses. We still are fighting hard, but it really set us back. It put us in a very bad financial position. And then, of course, there was some recovery through working at UPTD, but they've breached the contract as well. And after being deposed in Vaughn v. Loomis, now they're taking money out of our business account without notice. That happened 2 weeks ago.
That's terrible. Yep. I would definitely say if there's any
We're
lawyers,
totally exposed.
if there's any lawyers listening to our show, contact me, contact Ben if you want to jump a hold and you're not afraid. The problem is we have a lot of fear. There's, like you're saying, we got a lot of fear people are afraid to take on the establishment, man. You know, if you find yourself doing all of this and you're not giving up, you're one of the Republicans who's not giving up, who actually cares about this state, who actually cares about the taxpayers. I mean, $600,000, that you saved the taxpayers in Douglas County. That's insane, Ben.
From one county, small transit. If we can duplicate that in every single county, it's crazy what we could do.
And the amount of stuff that you can uncover over even here in Multnomah County. Like, you talk about these nonprofit organizations, like we got Sunstone Way that's shutting down here in June because they mishandled the funds, right? So why is Ben Edtl taking a look at a freaking transportation district in the Umpqua Transportation District when you're uncovering the fraud, fixing the allegations and fixing the problems, but yet we've got Multnomah County nonprofit NGOs that are out here taking our taxpayers $13 million, Ben, and putting it into these homeless shelters. And you go over there and you look at these homeless shelters, you say, that doesn't even look like $13 got put into it. So why are these Republicans not even looking into stuff like that? Why aren't we talking about stuff like that? Because why? What you've just answered, it doesn't fit their narrative, doesn't fit their pocketbook.
Well, they can't here's the thing. The Republicans have come after me since 2020.
Yeah.
And I founded Free Oregon in 2020, basically in December of 2020, but officially founded it in January 2021.
In the trenches. You've been in the trenches.
Yeah, it became the largest civil rights group in the state.
Yep.
You played that video earlier. It shows a trajectory of my cafes being vandalized, having fascists written across the windows, having my life threatened, having my kids put online, having my kids' schools and the time that they go and get out of school online. We've had threats to my wife and my kid and myself. And I remember my wife calling me sitting blocks away from the house, crying, saying, I won't go home until you're here. I'm terrified. Our family has gone through it, but our family cares about your family. And we care about our kids' future. And, we're another thing too, is that I trust God, I mean, it's his life, not mine. And so I follow the orders that I receive. And I think that's what makes me dangerous, because day to day, I literally, my eyes open in the morning and I get a download that says what I need to do today. And I do it. And I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I don't know. I'm one day at a time. And I live one day at a time like I'm supposed to, because that's all a man can do. And so I regardless of what happens in today, I know I'm never going to get more than I can handle. And I know that I'm going to keep on following orders, because I have front row seats to something that is very fascinating. And my family is not bored. And my kids are in public school because I want my kids on the front line. I want them to see communism firsthand. I want them to understand what it is.
Let's talk about that for a second. Yeah, let's talk about that.
People say I'm an idiot, but maybe I am.
Ben, that's a bold move. Right. Ben, that's a bold move, because my kids are in public school or private school, the one that's in school, and it's just like we chose not to put them in public schools because we don't want to put the kid on the front line, because now kids are very, very they're very gullible, right? They'll believe anything.
Yeah.
But you're putting your kids out on the front line. You do that on purpose. Huh.
Yeah.
You're building them too. Yeah, that's awesome. You're building strong kids, and that's a problem that we're building strong kids over here, but man, that's a bold move, and that's something that parents don't do here. And we talked about that. I've been down at the ICE facility over the past 10 months, covering what's going down over there. When you talk about them coming after your family, your wife scared not to go home since you're there, I get that 100%. We've been through it too, and but we see the parents And somebody asked us, like, what's the problem with all these like young adults over here, 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds? I go, there was no dads in the home that told them to sit down and shut the fuck up. No dads that gave them a voice to understand they have their own voice. They don't have to listen to what this person's doing, or see what they're doing and then do that. And so Portland where we're at least where I see, is we have a parenting problem. So I commend you, Ben, for that. As a dad, I totally commend you for that.
No, I appreciate it. And I don't, I've had so many people say that that's terrible what I'm doing. But, I had our middle son, when he was in middle school, he's in high school now, but he was in middle school, and he was on a team project with a couple other people. And one of them was a female, and the female decided, a week ago, that she was no longer a she, but a they, or something like that, a they, them. And he referred to her as she, and he was reprimanded, and he told me about it. And I went down to the school, and I walked into the office, and I asked to talk to the principal, and he has a different last name than me because he's my stepson. And
Right.
But I was there at the school, and they were not ready for that, but I was there at the school, and I said, well, if the principal doesn't see me today, I'm going to file a lawsuit in federal court. There's one chance right now for me not to. And she goes, okay. And then she, 5 minutes later, principal comes out. Okay, come back here. And I went back there, and I gave her my card, my free Oregon card. And I said, this is my stepson. Now, what just happened in his classroom was a violation of his First Amendment rights. Here's two federal case laws right now within the last year that shows that I will absolutely fucking destroy you in court.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sue the teacher. I'm going to sue you, and I'm going to sue the district. And it's going to be the worst thing that ever happened in your life. Because I was raised by a family of teachers. Teachers aren't sued very often. And I'll tell you, it'd be the worst thing that ever happened in their life.
Fair enough. That makes sense.
And so,
I wouldn't want you walking into my school board if I was doing some sketchy things.
Yeah, and in that video, I have that lady who's like, and Ben Edtl, and that's a Tiger 12 school district board member.
Wow.
In fact, ran into her at Fred Meyer the other day. It was pretty funny.
Wow.
She was like, and I just got off my Harley, and I had my American flag shotgun fingerless gloves on, and I was wearing a black flag shirt, and I was like, I was like,
decked out.
No,
Yeah.
I'm right in front of you. What do you think? Scared? Don't be scared. I don't beat up old ladies. Come on. But it was funny.
But to lie about it and say that you do.
I don't even want to do that. I got a bad place in my heart for old ladies. Like, they need help, and I help them. It sucks. I can't say no. But
I'm the same way.
you can't. But it's like, I was like, funny. Now we're face to face. When she attacked me, I didn't attack her personally. She attacked me. It's different when we're face to face. But nonetheless, they took that teacher within 2 weeks, transferred her to another school.
Wow.
And also at that same period of time in that same year, I don't know if you remember this, but the Hazelbrook Middle School, where the girl was beat up by the dude who was wearing dresses, and she was beat up, and it was an international video that went international. I broke that video, made it viral because my stepson had came home one day and goes, wow, big fight at school today. And I was like, oh yeah, well, whatever. It's fights. I don't know. And we're having dinner a couple days later, and he was saying something about the fight again. And I was like, whoa. You said a dude beat up a girl? He goes, no, it was like a trans dude. And I was like, so it was a boy who was identifying as a female? He goes, yeah. And I was like, do you have the video? Is there a video? He goes, oh, dude, there's a bunch of videos. And I was like, give me the video. And so he gets me the video in like 5 minutes, and we put it online. And then that's when it all just exploded. And we got Sue Reiki Smith, who was the superintendent. It was so embarrassing. It was on all the news. It was on national news. All of it was it just blew up. And the Sue Reiki Smith was the superintendent of the district. She resigned in disgrace. Okay. She resigned in disgrace. So we got this whole thing, but having my kids in public school is how we were able to make that happen. It was after that they banned cell phones in schools. Okay. So that event is what led to the state banning the cell phones in schools, because
that's making a move.
Yeah. Because they couldn't have everything being documented in the schools. And so now you can send kids to school with the recorders on. I have a parent who's also a teacher, a sub teacher in the district. She's like, my daughter's in leadership, and they won't let her say anything. And the leadership teacher said, when they were deciding, they're deciding and voting for student body, president, stuff like that. The leadership teacher gave 50% to one of the students, and then because she didn't want it to be a popularity contest, so she decided. And that's tyranny. It's not democracy.
That's tyranny.
It's crazy. This is crazy. This is at 12 in high school. It's so crazy. But anyway, we broke that. And in that video, in that highlight video, I have that video in there because it was such a pivotal moment that galvanized parents. And, in response to that, I found out later that through public records requests through through my investigative teams, because I work with people all across the state, we fight. We're pretty serious. I like to build my organization like a company, and I've got investigative teams, and they found out doing public records requests that the superintendent and the school board went to CODA, which is the coalition of
trans activists.
No, the district superintendents. And they requested support on me personally. They wanted more data and research on me personally. And what CODA did is they hired this national company that spied on me and spied on all my on everything that I did, and made this crazy map about all my contacts and my style and my strategic thinking and my tactics. It was this full political this is his web of people. This is his network. And it was the creepiest thing in the world, man, to have the government do that to you. That was back in 2024 as well.
Wow.
Spying on
politically
parents.
Ostracized, man.
But you know what? Look, this is what I say. I'm fighting. Okay?
Bring it.
I'm the only one fighting. I'm fighting. I'm not the only one fighting, but I'm fighting at the tip of the spear here. And so the punches that they hit me with are hard. And I don't know, when I was a kid, I liked to fight too. I don't know what it was. I just like to throw down. I made a lot of friends throwing down with them too sometimes. And I of course don't do that anymore, but it's been a long, long, long time. But when I was a kid, that would happen sometimes, but you never know how hard your punches are landing. You don't always see it because you're the one throwing them. You can feel your opponent's punches, and as hard as my opponents are punching, I can only imagine that mine are feeling just as hard. I think they're hitting me back as hard as they can at this point. Mm-hmm. And that's good.
Well, they're not going to knock you out,
I want people to see where they're coming from. I want people to see where the attacks are coming from.
Yeah. As you should, because they're coming from the people that we didn't expect it to come from.
That's right. Ever since I started Free Oregon, we brought the lawsuits on the mask mandates, on the vaccine mandates against teachers, doctors, nurses, frontline responders. We stopped the police from having the mandate. Luckily, the police stood up, and we didn't have to get the police. And they dropped out of the case, but we brought it. And it took years to finalize this. We sued Best Buy. We sued Goodwill. We sued any company that violated the rights and forced a patron to wear a experimental medical device to shop at their store, sit at their restaurant. And we won some of those cases. Most of them settled through the corporations, but then the corporations started putting pressure on the state saying, we're going to leave the state of Oregon if you make us enforce your bullshit laws. We're trying to sell TVs and shit. We're not trying to enforce your stupid shit. So then it ultimately broke the vaccine and the mask mandates. And so, but the headwind was never on Democrats. It was always coming from my own party. All the attacks that I would get were from my own party.
Wow.
All the way through.
I mean,
it's never changed. It's never been, I've never been hit by Democrats, ever. Except for the CODA and the research and all that stuff. But that was it. That was the only time when they spied on the parents at Tiger 12. And I wasn't the only parent. They had a whole bunch of us that they were spying on.
Wow.
That was the only time the Democrats attacked us. But really, they just researched us. They spied on us. That was different.
Yeah.
The Republicans attacked.
Well, I'll tell you what. We got doxxed over here. My face is all over the neighborhood, the south waterfront of the ICE facility, right? Everybody knows, Geyer's a Geyer, that I'm an investigative journalist, a journalist down there. I've been covering all this stuff for a long time. The people that gave that information was my own people, my own people. That's insane. Now that information, that doxing information, and let's talk about the highest levels of the courts. You were talking about how, it's these judges, it's these prosecutors, it's this, and this. It's the highest levels that are coming after you. Well, they're so embedded. We're talking about a cabal. We have a judge, and the Republicans could have fought this judge on the ICE agents using tear gas, right? The ICE agents, in my opinion, need to use tear gas to deploy it to defend their property.
Yeah.
Now, the Republicans could have fought that, but they didn't, right? They could have fought that, but they're so controlled by the Democrats, and the judges are Democrats, and the judge's wife is PCUSA. Now, PCUSA, there's a church organization here in Portland who has been seen on video, and we have documented evidence of them standing right next to Black Bloc Antifa, putting up the signs of the doxing information. So when you talk about a cabal too, we get it. It's a deep state, man. It's a deep state. I wanted to show you this too, Ben, before we get into something else. You were talking about the mask mandate.
Yeah.
I went into, with another journalist, a friend of mine here in Portland. We went to this nonprofit organization here. This nonprofit organization is called Sunstone Way. When we went to this nonprofit, we still went up to the building, and look at what they still have on their building. They still have COVID mandated signs on their building. Look at that. Like, hold on. Please wear a mask, it says. And they're not wearing masks, and all over the building it's saying that it's whatchamacallit, it's mask mandated. So crazy. Even the NGOs here in Portland are still doing that. That's crazy. Yeah.
It's a communist flag. It's their symbol. You might as well have a red swastika on your arm. That's the same thing. That's all that means. Yeah. When I see people wearing a mask, that's all I see. I see a bright red swastika.
I'm being ostracized right now for, not ostracized, but some people, even in my own party, are like, oh, we exposed a guy, we put his face on the internet. I believe a face should be a public thing. If you're a public figure and you're putting a mask on your face, you're right. You're covering something up and you're hiding from something. What's the best thing the CCP does? They're good at hiding.
Yeah.
Right in plain daylight too, man. It's insane. I've got another question, still branching into your Free Oregon. Yeah. If you come into, if you find yourself back in the legislature or in a position of power, how do we begin to dismantle the radicalization and the indoctrination we're seeing in our schools with the total public safety collapse in cities like Portland?
Well, I think it's an overhaul. I think the executive branch is the most important branch in the state of Oregon. It's the governor's office. And right now, I've made my public endorsements and whatnot, but right now, the governor's office, I don't see any Republican running right now that is really going to be able to do, or I think is going to really do what needs to be done. But it also tells me that we don't have the character to hold the blessing. Why in the world would a Republican take office if the Republicans that are in the front runners are the same as the Democrats, essentially? I mean, mm-hmm. I don't believe that's totally true, but essentially that's what we've seen. But it's the most important position because you can veto anything going out of the legislature. And you control all the executive agencies. And it's those agencies that have been awarded so much power by the legislature over the last 20 years. And that's where communism that's where the rubber hits the road for communism, because communism is rule by committee, and it's all power to the state. Mm-hmm. And communism is not despotism or, a monarchy. It's not those things. It's rule by committee. And so it can be very fascist. It's very fascist. Obviously, opponents of communism have all been murdered for the most part. Millions and millions and millions of communist oppositional parties have been murdered.
And
That's what
slaughtered.
happens. Yes, that's what happens. You have to kill them because when somebody utilizes free speech to ask simple questions like I do, where I say, show me where the Republicans have fought effectively and won. Like they're not show me how they use their power to push back on this communist machine. And the answer is no one can point to it because it doesn't exist. And so there is really no example in the last decade of Republicans in power making any sort of headway against communism that's meaningful, measurable, meaningful, and wow, okay, thank you. They're not. Even the tax referendum is just 2 paragraphs out of a 160-page, 180-page bill that created 9 new tax infrastructures, just like PERS, with no limit, no sunset, and the legislators in the next can start filling all the money up. The 2 paragraphs that were referred in Ed Deal's referendum can be put back in by the next legislative session. Gas tax, boop. No, it doesn't end a gas tax forever. It ends a gas tax.
They want to call that a win.
Yeah, it's perfect for Democrats to go, yeah, you can have that one because we can just put that back anytime. That doesn't matter. But tolling, transponders on your vehicles per mile, there's 9 different ways that they're going to tax you out of that.
Yeah, the public doesn't know that.
No, they don't. They just think that the gas tax is going to be forever gone if they vote against it. It doesn't. It's not an amendment to the Constitution. It doesn't say that that it's just taking 2 paragraphs out of a 180-page bill, and it's the 2 most meaningless paragraphs in the entire thing.
Yeah.
And it's hard because everyone's really fired up because they think it's a victory because everyone's so hungry for victory. And I hate to be the leader who says, I'm sorry, people, this is not a victory.
Bad news. Yep.
And so I'm hated right now by a lot of my even friends that I've worked with since Free Oregon. They're very mad at me. They're very angry and they think that I'm truly just being divisive. And some of them are questioning that I'm truly just a Democrat because I've made people feel so bad about that fact. But the truth is that the truth ages well. Lies do not age well. And the way I've been able to survive in politics by being who I am and not having to think about what I said yesterday and what I'm saying today is that the truth ages well. And every time I go through, which I've done this before, where everyone hates me, even my friends, sometimes I get out the other side and they all come back and they say, you were right. You were right.
It's your track record, man. It's having that positive track record and be honest throughout the entire thing.
Yeah. I can't say that I've never said something that wasn't true because I've said things that I believed were true that later I found out what wasn't true.
Right.
And I've corrected the record every time I became aware of that. But I can say that I've never lied. I've never gone out to try to lie or trick anybody. And that's the thing. That's what I got. Anybody that's followed me or been in my life since 2020 would put their life on that I'm telling the truth. And I got the receipts. We bring receipts. Always receipts. Yeah. We have receipts.
Always. You got to have those receipts, man. Because if you don't have those receipts, you don't have your proof.
100%. We got the receipts.
Then it's just words. you know,
it's their words against my words.
Yeah.
And so receipts are everything.
We do.
But also your own eyes.
I'm all for it. Yeah. It's you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention to what's going on in the world around you. You got to step up and you got to do the right thing. And as Oregonians, we got to do some things, Ben. And I think you're on a path in the right direction. You have been for years. And the people that are stomping you out are just trying to take you down. And we get that over here. Me and my team, we take hate and flack every single day. But this was a good informational discussion, man. Because now I think I learned a lot from it. I think now that there's more people that kind of understand, it goes on to a deeper aspect of everything here. Where now I think at this point I understand that we're not fighting the Democrats.
No, we're fighting communism.
Yep. We have 6 Democratic Socialists of America within our city council here in Portland. 6.
Yep.
That should scare people.
It does. I have a business. My family owns a med spa in the Pearl District, and
Okay.
we look around. We're in one of the greatest areas in Portland. It's my favorite area in Portland. It's the North Pearl, and there's 48 vacant commercial spaces in the 4-block radius where we're at. 48.
That's insane.
And it does scare people. It scares them so much they leave the city. It scares them so much they leave the state. And some of us can't leave, and some of us shouldn't leave. We should stay. We should stay and fight, because it's not about Oregon. It's not about ourselves. It's about our country. And the West Coast is not the United States of America. We do not have a First Amendment and Second Amendment or Fifth Amendment or 14th Amendment protections. We don't have those protections anymore. They're gone. And I'm a living testament to that. And I think that people that understand truly how it works, the people on the inside, the lawyers who know, the people who know, they know that what I'm doing is outside the bubble. And
we know
what
it now.
you're doing is outside the bubble. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's where the fight truly is. It's where you got to go, all right, God, you got my back. I'm going to follow your orders. And you go and you attack. And that's led me to some interesting places like the Umpqua Public Transit District. And it's not grassroots once you're a government official. And I've been a government official now. So it changes the game a lot. It changes the stakes a lot. And it intensifies this fight. But I am going to find the people. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you what happened and why this started. In 2020, we had raised money from our family and our friends, and I had taken over a bankrupt coffee roastery in 2018 that I'd never been in coffee before, but I've never been in the same industry twice, really. And so I took this bankrupt roastery over, and we turned it around, and we started acquiring cafes in Portland that were also struggling, that were great cafes that had long, legacy stories, and then we grew from 800 square feet to a 4,700, 4,800 square feet place down on 22nd and Powell. And we were aggressively growing when 2020 happened. And so we could take investments. We could put things together to have confidence that we were going to reach our goals. And we were flying toward them at high speeds. And when 2020 happened, I couldn't have seen it coming. And we did the PPP loans. We did the small business COVID bailout loans. We did all that stuff. But we also did what they said to do, keep your employees and try to, and we did. We tried to do our part. We tried to follow the rules, which is what we need to do. But things got so bad after the 2 weeks of flatten the curve, because remember Kate Brown said 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And I gave Kate Brown 2 weeks. I gave her 14 days. But on the 15th day, I took my mask off and I took the signs off our doors. I put our chairs back down on the floor. I ripped the fucking tape off the ground that spread out 6 feet. And I said, our businesses are open. She said 2 weeks,
Doors
fuck
are
this.
open.
And I had 40 employees and 38 of them were like Antifa. I had no idea. But I got canceled. And the more pressure that came from me to conform to this communist, fascist way of living, the more I fought back, the more I wanted to stand up against it. There was no way that I was going to succumb to this. And I wanted to, because it was wrong. And it wasn't constitutional. It was not the United States of America. This was not American. And, but it didn't make it easy. It wasn't easy. And as we were losing everything as a result, I had it tough at home. My wife, we were losing stuff. We were upsetting the relationships with our family and our friends. We were under tremendous financial pressure as the business went under. And I was in a crisis one night in November, and I called some people, but they didn't pick up. It was late, 2 a.m. My wife was stressed enough. I didn't wake her up, but I needed to I needed to change my mindset because I was getting in a really dark place. And I drove down from where we lived at Tigard at the time. I drove down to my roastery on 22nd and Southeast Portland, 22nd and Powell. And by then it was like 2:30, 3 in the morning. And I got there and the drive sort of shook me up a little bit where I was like, okay, I'm driving now. My mind's not obsessing on this solution that I thought I had in my mind. And I got on my knees there and I said, God, what the fuck do you want me to do? What the fuck do you want me to do, God? I literally on my knees, like, what do you want me to do, man? And the first thing that it told me was, I want you to go into politics. And I started laughing. I was like, really?
Are you kidding me right now?
I'm so good at politics. I'm on the news every other day because I'm killing people because I'm spreading COVID or whatever, even though no one I know has COVID. And and I'm violating the rules, and every government agency is trying to shut me down, and people want to kill me and my wife and my kids, and like, oh yeah, politics. This is a great idea, God. Fuck. But it actually truly made me laugh. And and because I've been practiced in this thing where you go, God, what it's your life, not mine. So I said, okay, man, it's working. You've told me to keep fighting. So, okay, I'll do it. I'll go and I'll do it. And the order at that time was, I want you to find the people responsible for this, and I want you to hold them accountable. And that was the deal that I made with God that night on my knees. And it was after that deal that I had a sense of peace overwhelm me.
Right.
Like a sense of peace, a sense of protection, a sense of God has a plan. This is what you're going to do with me. This is cool. I didn't see this coming. This is interesting again. And so I knew that day forward, it was time to wind down my business and to pay the people that I knew needed it, and to say pound sand to the people that could go fuck off and pound sand. I don't care. There was a lot of people I said, fuck you, sue me. But I made it through the entire thing without ever being sued. I mean, I was sued, but I never got to trial. Everybody dropped their cases. We made right with the right people. And then the bad people, I said, go fuck off. And then they would try to do things online. Like, you don't pay your bills. And I'm like, I don't pay you because I told you to go fuck off. And yeah, you can go fuck off. And that was how we did it.
As a business owner and a boss, you should be able to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was like, obviously our business went under. Obviously, we're at lockdowns, and I'm not going to pay you. Sorry, sue me.
Yeah.
And you have every right to do that. You can be sued and then maybe found that you have to pay, but that didn't happen. God gave me grace through that whole thing. And, it's always provided what our families needed one way or another. And as always, we've taken some big hits, but I've also become stronger, and I'm less and less afraid and more courageous as this whole thing has gone on. And I have more and more faith that we're going to win. And I know that. And so that's it.
It fuels the fire, man. Everything is just fueled the fire. That reminds me of, I was trying to think of, you said you got on your knees, you started praying, God, what the fuck do you want me to do, man? And Isaiah 30:21 says, whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. That's what you heard, bro. You heard Isaiah 30:21. Now bringing up, stuff about Jesus, man. It's, I was watching your video and I was watching through, there's a part of it where you're being interviewed by who I think I know who it is. One of our good friends, the BC preacher.
Oh yeah,
that was Quincy out there interviewing you, huh?
I love Quincy. Yeah, that was Quincy.
Yeah.
Those are the big free organ events that we would run. They were huge. Yeah, they were. It was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And
that was Quincy, man. I love Quincy. He's a good man.
Yeah, he's a great man, and he's I've learned a lot about him. I've learned a lot from him. And it's cool to have people that like. That video is what, from 2023, 2021. 2021. Yeah. So he was out in the thick of it. He brought his kids into the fire, man.
Yeah.
He puts his kids into it like you did.
And his wife.
And his wife. Yeah. My wife wants to go out and she's like, put me down in ice and put me undercover. I was like, oh man, nope, I can't do that to you. I'm sorry. But yeah, man, she's a firecracker too, and she's all for it. And the fact that your wife stands by you and your family stands by you, that's something as a respectable thing. You know, they're going to continue to fight with you. The left does not give up. I've learned that the left down here does not give up, but you're putting up a bigger fight, man.
That's it, man. Courage is contagious. People don't follow titles. You know, you could be the governor, you could be a state rep, you could be whatever. And some people follow those titles, but that most people follow courage. Most people follow, you know, as a business leader, organizational leader for 25 years, I've learned one thing. As a CEO, my job is to clear the obstacles that are ahead of everyone else's progress. And that's my job. That's it. That is my job. If I do one thing and one thing only, it's get rid of the obstacles that no one can see yet, so they can move forward and they can take positions of power. They can take, you know, and that's what you do, right? So politically, I just do the same thing because that's what I know, right? I know that works, right? I know that as a leader, my job is to get out in front and to take the heavy blows and take on the biggest challenges and clear them out of the way so that my organization can move forward. And that my organization is just a bunch of people, just like the government is a bunch of people. We don't realize this, but the government is only a bunch of people. That's it. They're not gods. They're not. They have power. They have certain power, but they're just only a bunch of people, just like me and my people and you. And so what we have to do is I got to get out there as a leader and I got to clear the obstacles. I got to identify the true root of the problem. And then I have to go in there and clear that problem out so that we can move forward. And that's what I've been doing since 2021. That's it. And so that's it. And everyone can say what they want to say from outside the ring. You know what I mean? But the end of it is the after effect is that everyone can now move forward and they go, oh my God, he was out there in front, clearing the obstacles so that we could move forward. And so, that I know, and it takes courage to do that because you don't know what you're going to face when you're out front. You're walking into dark space. In politics, it's incredibly complex. You don't know who you're fighting. You think you're fighting David Brock Smith. You're not. You're fighting who controls David Brock Smith, and you're fighting a caucus, but you're also fighting who controls a caucus. Politicians are mostly pawns. And the kings, the queens, the rooks, they're all behind the scenes, but they can take you right out and they'll try. But, you know, you go meet, you know, Jules Walters, the Democrat in my House District 37. She's dumb as a box of rocks. I mean, she couldn't find her way out of a paper bag.
You know who Walters is, man.
She's the first person I've ever met. Literally like low IQ, stupid. Like literally I've talked to her.
We play for her.
Dumb as shit. I feel bad for her. She's so dumb. I was in a Willamette Week debate with her, and I was like, it threw me off because I was like, this lady is so dumb. I mean, she's so dumb. I couldn't even attack her. Like I was like, this is weird. Like when I did that with Rob Wagner, like Rob Wagner's like reptilian, dude. Like that guy is a snake. Like you think the energy that he exudes is like dark and snaky and
it's
creepy.
bad.
I don't know if you ever met him or been in the same room as that guy, but fuck,
I have.
So you know what I'm talking about. You're just like, whoa, dude's a spook.
I was like, who is that? And a buddy of mine said that's Rob Wagner. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Weird, creepy, weak, like sickly looking, but like, whoa, like ugh.
Antifa.
Yeah, it's weird. But the thing is Rob Wagner would act like everything he did was an act. Like he's such a psychopath that like he had to pretend to have human emotions while I was ripping him to shreds. But Jules Walters is truly just a average dumb shit. And that's what they're controlled by someone who knows what they're doing.
Right. Yeah.
You're not fighting them. They're not. She's not the one to fight. There's someone.
They're the AOCs. They're the AOCs of Congress.
100%. These people are. You're like, what? So you know, politics is tricky, and it's very much outside the bubble. You're dealing. I believe now. 6 years in, I believe now that we're dealing with intelligence community, we're dealing with CCP intelligence community, we're dealing with cartel intelligence community, and we're dealing with a massive theft. A great theft of the United States, a great theft of Oregon, and a great theft of the West Coast, and it's treasonous. And I have a lot of hope because I know that what the Trump administration is doing, and I know that they're coming to stop it, and I know that they've brought on 600 new JAG officers in the last 6 months for military tribunals, and with that executive order on elections, in the threat in that executive order is any ballots, any person who is suspected of passing illegal votes is going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and
To the fullest.
in that context, Trump has been saying over and over and over, because it's true, that mass election rigging is treason. And that's exactly what it is. They're stealing our country without a shot. Well, there's been some shots, but without a war. And I think that in November, it's going to be the Marine Corps counting our ballots in Oregon, Washington, and California. And so there's a lot of hope there. But we have to be ready. And IP37, and this is why I'm a chief petitioner of IP37, is that IP37 codifies security in our elections into the Constitution at a time when we know that the Marines are going to be counting our ballots, and our own Republican apparatus, our Republican establishment, is not only refusing to support us in getting this on the ballot, they're trying to stop us from getting this on the ballot.
And that's scary. And that's something that should piss everybody off.
Yeah. But people have to believe it's true.
How many signatures you got, Ben?
How many what?
How many signatures you got?
We've got about 80,000. We're a long ways away. We have until July 2nd.
How many you need?
We need 160,000. So we're halfway there.
Let's get there, guys. Let's get there. I know that with, we're building a platform here. And, Ben, I'm all for it. I'm all for what you had to talk about tonight, man. I think IP37 is gonna change the way that our elections are done. And if we're having military come count our votes, I think that's something that needs to be done. I think the fact that you're putting yourself out on the front lines, you're not shutting up, you're not letting the establishment tell you what to do. I think that's great, man. So 80,000 votes, and you need 160. You're halfway there in July 2nd. What's July 2nd?
July 2nd is the deadline to turn in our ballots to make it on turn in our signatures to make it on the 2026 November ballot.
And this is for all counties?
It's all counties. Yeah, it's all counties. You can go to nvbm.com and you can volunteer. You can also hit me up on my website at benedtl.com. You can hit me up on X. You can hit up Michaela Hammerson on X. You can hit up Stephen Jonkis on X. The three of us are chief petitioners. Stephen Jonkis is the civil rights attorney for the state of Oregon. And we are all working together as a team, and we've got a great community of people across the state of Oregon. And we were generating 25,000 signatures a month starting out, and we had 33 out of 36 counties signed on, county parties.
Wow.
And when the No Tax Oregon came through, their first thing that they wanted to do is make sure that nobody had any other petition except for that petition. And that was where the division began. But we need to overcome that division, and we need to stop thinking about what people say about other people and just get this goddamn thing on the ballot, because Oregonians need to have the discussion. We need it. In fact, one of the things that Ed Deal and these other establishment Republicans have been saying publicly about IP37 and why it's a bad idea is because they say that 80% of Oregonians like vote by mail. Well, it was brought to my attention by an old friend the other day, Saturday to be exact, that the poll that they're referring to is from 2003.
Oh, good Lord.
So
same year they instated Immigration Customs Enforcement.
It's crazy. It's from 2003. So
wow,
we need to get another poll out.
We do.
Poll that's done right, that is not leading, that is a very strong poll. We need to get a pull out. So NVBM, we're working on that right now. We have AI functionality. We have a software called VRM, Politigy VRM, that we're using to help Republicans campaign with against the best of them. And this is, very grassroots oriented, but it's a very phenomenal technology. But we have basically PhD pollsters within that system that can develop very defensible, media defensible polls, and we can send it out and get it done. And so we are going to do a poll in the next 3 to 4 weeks, a big poll throughout Oregon, asking to find out and take the temperature on what people think about vote by mail. And I'll guarantee you it's not going to be in 80% support. It's just not going to happen. I would be shocked if even less than 50% would like to see major significant changes to our election system. And that's what IP 37 does. It doesn't eliminate vote by mail. You can still vote by mail if you are verified absentee balloting, military, elderly, disabled. Even if you can't get out of work that day because of whatever reason it might be, you can cast your vote by mail, but you have to go to the elections office and say, I am me. Here's my ID. I need to vote by mail. And so they'll go, cool, got it. You're you. We'll send you a ballot. And that can happen, okay? That you can do. But it will not be a flooding of the state of Oregon with hundreds of thousands of additional ballots, overprinting of hundreds of thousands of additional ballots. And most of us will be able to go in and cast our ballot in person with our ID at our local precinct, at our elementary school, or even a neighbor's house. You got to, before we had vote by mail in rural Oregon and rural areas, somebody's home would become the ballot, would become the polling center.
Wow.
And they were trained, and there was a Democrat and a Republican, and there was observers, and they would watch. And even if you knew your neighbor, I had people tell me this back in the day, even if we knew our neighbor, they would say, go get your ID. But I know, you know me, I'm Jed, blah, blah, blah. Jed
Still
Smith,
gotta do it.
Jed, but get your ID. And they would write the ID number down, and they would write his name as being received a ballot. And that is more secure than what we have.
Right. Wow.
And that's what we do. We call for a holiday. We call for county-controlled voter rolls. Okay,
Yes.
pure and simple. We call for voter ID, proof of citizenship, and publicly available voter rolls for free.
Wow.
So that anybody from the public can audit the voter rolls, the true voter rolls, at any time. And that's all we want. We are not asking for Democrats not to be able to vote, for handicaps people not to be able to vote, for black people, because black people can't get their IDs. We want black people to vote too.
They can't access computers or something like that.
Yeah, they can't get computers because they're black, and they can't get their IDs because they're black. So yeah, we want black people to be able to vote too. Even if you're voting Democrat, I don't care. You should vote Republican, but this isn't about voting Republican. This is about voting and knowing that your vote has power. And
voting for the future of our state.
And to know it.
Right, our vote means something, or our vote should mean something. It doesn't right now.
Yeah,
it's scary. This guy says guards at or in prison voting locations would be very helpful in preventing harassment that deters lining up. I don't understand that question.
I think it's in person. So guards at our in-person voting locations would be very helpful in preventing harassment. That makes a lot of sense. And we didn't need guards. See, I'm 48. So the first time I voted in a major election was 1998. And I voted, actually lived in the Portland's King District back in 98 when it was mostly African-American. And I was the only white boy in line, and it was a line around the block. I was in line. But I'll tell you right now, it was a block party. People were rolling by in their cars, bumping, and people were like, dancing, and everyone was happy. Nobody was like, what are you voting for? Nobody cared if you were Republican or Democrat. Nobody cared, man. It was just a cool thing. And I'll tell you right now, I remember it as being a nice day. And thanks to AI, I was able to look up the weather on what is it, November 6th or whatever it was, 1998, and it was 60 degrees in Portland, sunny.
Wow, in November.
Not making this up. And
God knew, man.
Yeah, dude, I was like, it was beautiful and sunny. I remember that. But I was 20 years old. I was 18 in 96. I didn't vote because I'm a December baby. So after November, I couldn't vote until December. So I had to wait till 98 when I cast my first real vote, and it was in person. And
That's so cool.
It was a really big thing. Everyone came together to do it. And I think the vote by mail is part of the strategy that people really don't see, is it divides us into silos. If we could go vote together with Democrats and Republicans in the same room, voting together and sharing in that civic duty, that civic power, that blows walls away. That blows away paradigms and walls that have been developed in us and put between us, these wedges that have been put between us with social media and with media in general, and with this indoctrination and propaganda. But when we walk together, Republicans and Democrats having different views, but coming together to cast those ballots in person, it's life-changing. It tells you that we're all on the same team. We are the people. Yeah. And that's the thing that we got to forget, that we've forgotten. And we're going to bring that back. This is going to come back. And I think the young people, the people who are turning 18, the 20-year-olds right now, this generation, I think they yearn for this. I think they yearn to have oversight where they don't have to worry about, this guy says this mean shit and this guy says this mean shit. I can go check myself. I can go see the voter rolls myself. And we know that they're legit because we can see it ourselves, and we can go do this thing together, this nostalgic thing that, my parents or whatever have told me about.
Yeah, right. They didn't even tell us like who they were voting for. I'm not telling you who I'm voting for until after the election.
Yeah. You would never say secret ballot. We don't have secret ballots. When you put your ballot in the mail, it is no longer secret. When you're voting at home, it is in a secret ballot. And now we have QR codes on the ballot where they're encrypted, where the USPS decrypts that data on who you are so they can match it up with the right envelope.
Demographics.
And so the USPS knows everybody who's voting, who's going in. Now, these decryption devices can be put in to any clerk's office because they're there.
That's wild.
And it's literally one single business in Bend, Oregon, prints every single one of these of our ballots and our envelopes. One business, one private business in Bend, and they have all access to those decryption tools. And so anytime somebody could just get, I'm not saying that business is doing this, but they can. Like that's what's so crazy is it's a private company that does all of it. It's very good. Yeah. Not 4, not 5, not a split.
One. That's insane.
Okay. That's corruptible. The reason Oregon sucks so bad compared to California and Washington, even though they suck really bad too, is that California and Washington is too big to rig. We have one city that controls the entire state, 40 House districts in one city out of 60 House districts. They've intentionally designed Oregon so that it can be controlled by Portland. But Washington State, California have big cities all over the place. Huntington Beach, it's all Republican, 100%. Southern California, Orange County, it's very red.
Yeah, it's more than what they tell you it is.
It's a lot more, and they still steal elections. Same way that they do it in Oregon, but it's a lot harder.
Well, they're afraid.
That's right.
They're afraid to do it on their own, so they have to steal it, and that's what you're here to stop.
Yep, they can't do it on their own.
They can't. Well,
and even the current Republicans in power right now today would not last through a legit election with a proper challenger.
No, they need a proper challenger. They need somebody who's going to continue to do it. Yep. And you can't do it alone. You can't have this and vote by mail alone, Ben. That's why you need these signatures. That's why we need these signatures, man. We can't let this happen. We can't let this continue to happen. We can't let the Republicans allow this to slide through. I'm right here with you, and I know you've got thousands and thousands of people. I think 80,000 people so far.
That's right. And what we need right now is we need 5,000 people to get a one-page 10. Well, we need 8,000 people to get a one-page 10-line signature sheet and go get it filled out by their friends, neighbors, and family. That's it. We need 8,000 people to do that.
That's
And we'll
that's
be on
my neighborhood.
That's right. Your friends,
Right?
family, keep it with you for
Yeah.
a week. I guarantee you'll get 10 signatures.
Okay. Well, let's do it, Ben. That website, nvbm.com.
nvbm.com.
Yep.
Hit us
Follow
up.
this
We'll
guy,
get
guys.
a 10 sheet.
Follow him
Thanks.
on all social medias and really get into what this guy's talking about. If you joined in halfway or quarter way through the podcast, rewatch this. It was a great conversation with Ben. He's got a lot to say, and we stand by him. We stand right behind him, and we're going to continue to fight along with him, and hopefully that we can end this vote by mail thing, and we can kind of free Oregon, man.
It's free Oregon.
So let's do it, man. Ben, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you coming and giving us the real story of the mainstream just won't touch. So we're standing with you, and we're going to stand on the front lines.
Right on.
And have a good night, Ben. Thank you.
You too, brother. Thank you.
And that's it for tonight. Make sure you follow the work at Geyer Digital. My name's Geyer, and that's it. That was Ben Edtl, and we are going to continue to fight for Oregon. We're going to continue to have people on this show that continue to fight for Oregon, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you guys for joining. That's Geyer Digital on all social media platforms. Ben Edtl, look him up. YouTube, X, all that good stuff. Guys, this is Geyer. This is the Geyer Show. And we'll see you on the next one.
This is the Geyer Show. Yeah. This is the Geyer Show. On the front lines, up in your face, red light on, and the tape rolls. We don't blink when we name names.